Okay, so we've got past this part, and we know once we get to 5 we're going to move on. And I've made a few tweaks, and when we get to 5, you'll notice that everything just stops, including the jumping. And the reason for that is this. Over here I've added a hide to the hydrant, and you've got to put a show back in here, right, because we're going to get rid of the hydrant when we move on to the next bit. So we hide the sprite. I got rid of the jumps that broadcast here and here, because we want this thing, the clouds and the backdrop, to keep going. So hydrant disappears, but the clouds keep going. Now the dog, the switch, which was over here, it's been taken out and put where it probably should be, which is close by what we're trying to switch. So there's a switch and there's a switch. Okay, and as you can see, when we get to this point, I've stopped it, but things keep going. Alright, so what happens next? Well, what happens next is we go and get another sprite, and the sprite I'm going to get is down here. I'm going to get the parrot. Okay, and the parrot's going to be up here flying, toing and froing, and it's going to drop apples on the dog. I know that sounds a bit silly, but that's what we're going to do. Alright, so when we start, there's going to be action going down the bottom here while we set this parrot up, so don't worry about that. So the parrot is going to start in a particular spot. Let's see, 0, 100 might be good. Is good, and it probably needs to be a bit smaller, so maybe half the size. Let's see how we're looking. Yep, that looks pretty good. And just ignore the bottom part, we're just developing this. Now the parrot, we need to go to and fro, which we'll do. So this hopefully will look a little bit familiar, and we'll just use a forever for now, and we'll move the parrot, and we'll go to the next costume, forever, and if we're on the edge we're going to bounce. So let's just see how that looks. That parrot's going really fast. So we've got 2 costumes now. You may remember from the bat that we had more bats, and if you want to enhance that you can. I'm just going to stick with the 2 for a minute, and I'm going to slow it down a little bit. Maybe, let's see if that's enough. Let's see. Yeah, well, when you've got more things happening, like, you know, more costumes here, it won't look like it's flying so hard. Okay, now as I said, we're going to drop apples on the dog. So to do that, we're going to have to get a little bit clever here. I'm going to go and get another sprite, and it's the apple. Okay, and for now I'm going to hide it. Just simply hide it. Okay, for now. So there it is. But we want the apple to be attached to the parrot, but then we want it to detach from the parrot and hit the dog. So there's a few ways you can do this. The way I'm going to do it is like this. Stop this, get the apple costume, and I'm going to copy it. So the way I do that is I click on it and I hit Control C, which is copy. Then I go over to my parrot, which is here, and then I hit Control V, and there's the apple. Okay, and I'm going to send it back a little bit, like so. And later on, when you ungroup the parrot, you can have one behind the other. For the moment, we'll just live with it the way it is. Another Control V, bring that down there, send it to the back a little bit. It's probably gone too far back. That's okay. We haven't ungrouped the wings, but if you did, I'll bring it forward again for a moment. Oh, whatever. You get the hang of it. So there's the parrot. Now let's just see what we've got here. Right, good. we've got an apple attached to the parrot, which is what we want. And then at some point, maybe using the spacebar or something like that, you're going to let this apple go. And in the meantime, we also want the dog to be able to move. So we'll come back to the parrot and the apple. Let's go over to the dog and let's add I'll just leave that there for the moment. That's not what's going to happen. In effect, all this is going to be happening if this happens. Okay, so we can do our set size there, and we can hide it, and then we can just put a show in here, and when we get through the jumps, the parrot will appear with its little apple. Okay, so the last thing we need to do now is just to add a couple of arrows to our dog. Now, the switch thing kicks in again, and we're going to have to, I've got the switch set to 1 and the switch set to 1, but in effect you'll see in a moment we want the switch to set to something else, and it works like this. So we want a couple of, this is for the dog, so when the left arrow is pressed we want the dog to go left, and when the right arrow is pressed we want the dog to go right. Okay, so but we don't want the arrows to be on all the time, so we have to do another one of these control things. So what we're going to do is put another if in here. I can duplicate and do this later. So if the switch is set to something else, so if the switch equals something else, well it's not 1, if it's 1 we're going to have it going when it gets touched. So if we make that at 2, then this is off, this is on. So if it equals 2, then things start happening, and we will keep it pretty straightforward. If we're going left, we're going to point in direction left, and we're going to move 10 steps. Now let's just test this thing. Interesting. I mustn't have, there you go. See, little things. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, good. Now the reason that's happening is that didn't point back to where it should have been to start with, so it's actually pointing in direction left and moves 10 steps. So if the switch equals 2, we do that. This is going to also obviously going to be, need to be cleaned up a bit. And we point in direction right. Okay, now we'll see if we can make it through the 5 jumps and get the arrows working. And there's a little tweak that we need to do way back up here, is we better make sure that when we start that the dog is pointing in the correct direction. Okay, and then we also might want to give the impression we're walking here in a minute. So let's just see if we can get through this first part. So far so good. 1 to go. And yep, it's working. We got that far. Now the next thing we'll look at is dropping the apple and getting a little bit clever with the costume so he looks like he's walking.